Hello and welcome to this week's look at action inside movies, and what a movie we have for you today. Oh yes, it's this one. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981. A lot of stunt performers who are working today will always tick the box marked Bond or Indiana Jones when they're looking at inspirations for how they got into the business in the first place. What excited you about wanting to become a stunt performer? Well, I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, or I saw one of the Indiana Jones movies, or I saw a Bond movie at the cinema, and I thought, oh, that looks good, I can do that. This is how important this movie is. Minus the fact, of course, that it's brilliant from start to finish. It's really well done. The trilogy is exceptionally good, and is the sort of thing you can go back to time and time and time again and not get bored with it, As I say, we're not going to touch too much on anything else that comes after the first three movies, because I think for me anyway, and I know for a lot of fans, but for me it'd spoil it. So let's clarify the facts here. We're going to have a look at the first three movies. We start with this one from 1981. Glenn Randall is the stunt coordinator. There are some iconic moments, and they look very much like this. So, 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark. It is the start of something big. We all remember the original sequence, the early sequence where Indy's being chased by that ball. Well, obviously, most of it done in the studio. And leaving the studio, Martin Grace is doubling Harrison Ford. When it gets to the location shot and the dive out, that's Vic Armstrong. Vic doubles him going out down the bank. Wanted to clarify that, didn't want to do the whole sequence, but just wanted to clarify and isolate those early periods. The Ravenwood Bar, the first major action set piece. Here's some behind the scenes footage. This is Malcolm Weaver, who's getting himself set ablaze here, getting shot, falling to his knees and landing, and then being put out immediately by the safety crew. Now, more importantly, a lot of injuries occur from a simple fight, and I say simple fight, but obviously it's a case of choreography. It's remembering the moves, remembering when to duck, remembering when to throw the punch, remembering which piece of furniture to pick up. And here we see stunt coordinator Glenn Randall going through the moves with Harrison. Pat Roach, who is the Sherpa in this particular sequence, he's a professional wrestler, not a stuntman. He's a professional wrestler. He knows a thing or two about selling punches, selling action, and choreographing moves. This is a rehearsal shot. Pat's not. He's got his arm on fire in the final sequence. That's got to come apart there. Then he hits him. So they have to make sure, the prop guys have to make sure that that's going to break on impact. And they do that by cutting through it and making it as loose as they possibly can. Right, here's the shot. The set gets lit. Look at the set. It goes up like an inferno. That's a lot of heat. It's presumably gas-fed as well, just to keep everything going. And then the action starts. And you can see the tussle happening there. Right, he's ablaze. He's got a swing, punch, then swing again, down, boom. He's going to grab at him and miss, picks up the furniture, rushes towards the far wall, bang, hits him the first time, picks it up again, bang, hits him the second time. That's the routine. And then he gets put out. Now, in that same sequence, on the left-hand side there is Malcolm Weaver. Now, we talked about Malcolm earlier. He's referred to as the rat-faced character. A little harsh, really. The majority of this is makeup. But it's a very, very big burn, actually. I mean, it's a partial body burn. But nevertheless, because his face, and you can see that his face is covered in a gel of some shape or form, which a fire protective gel, which kind of blends into the blood that then pours down his face after he's shot in the head, and then extraordinary shots of that fire. The bizarre fight, it's not bizarre, it's in a bizarre, but again, more choreography, running through the routine, because there's people coming from different locations, and again, Glenn wants to make absolutely certain that all of the moves are captured in the right way. He's got to work with the camera guys, with Steven Spielberg particularly, who wants to be able to catch the right thing. This type of routine to go duck, bang, and hit Paul Weston, who will be arriving from behind. So it's all a case of timing. He's got to deliver a piece of dialogue and then throw that punch and make it arrive and make it work, but sell it. And of course, Harrison's the hero. Indiana Jones is the hero, but it's up to everybody else to prove to the audience, to sell the fact that Indy really is, here's Rocky Taylor. Another member of this team is Burker has come down below his nose there so you can recognise him. But again, everything worked out in detail. Here comes the punch. Boom, got him. And in the edit, it looks terrific with a little sound effect put on top of it as well. And it's just the way they work it. You've got to do this, particularly with a number of people coming from different directions, which they're doing here. I've always loved that. He must have a pad on at the back, look. Now, the piece after this, of course, is the very famous bullwhip sequence. Here is Harrison prepping for this, rehearsing in his own time. Of course, they hardly used it in the thing at all. Oh, that's Peter Diamond, who's the stunt arranger on the show. And Glenn Randall. Now, this is Terry Richards, of course. And, of course, there was an illness going about and nobody wanted to do anything at all. And ultimately, they ended up shooting him. But, this is Terry's moment. And he has a doll. He's got an action figure named after him. This is the cannon roll, and again, Glenn Randall driving this. He's packing out the cab as best he can. There's a roll cage in there, but he's, the concept of this is that they are going to fire a cannon from the underside of this to try and flip it over. Now, you can see from the distance there isn't enough distance to get enough speed. He wants it to go along and then boom, fly over on its end. But that's not going to happen because there's not enough speed, and maybe the charge isn't big enough. But he's going to take all the precautions anyway, and the final result, although unsatisfactory as far as Glenn was concerned, Spielberg liked it enormously. So you will see here that the ramp that he's going up is not very far away. It's a big truck, there's not much run up. He comes along, fires the cannon, it kind of goes over to one side and then drops over. Now, this is that locked off camera there you could see was picking up these shots, and you can see the smoke from. But look, there's a wall behind it. It's a fixed starting point. He's not got to run up to get any speed to get it up and get it over. So obviously this is 1981. Cannon rolls weren't something that they were doing on a regular basis. Lion in the Desert was a movie that Glenn had worked on and was indeed cannon rolling lots of trucks and military vehicles, but had a great deal more explosive power and run-up. Spielberg loves it. He thinks it's terrific. Glenn's not very happy about the whole thing, wanted it to be much more significant, much more important. But Spielberg comes up to him here and says, look, it's terrific. It comes along, it goes up the bank and loses control and falls over. So it's absolutely perfect. And he's right in that respect. The performer always wants it to be the most spectacular thing you've ever seen, but under the circumstances. Now, here's the run-up. Here's the sequence leading up to it. Look at the distance. Cars coming along, and look, there's a wall in front of it. Well, where does that go? Where's it? So it's turned a corner? What? It's not terribly well explained, but in the sequence, it works. And I think it's good. I think it's terrific. Now, moving on from this, we now have the tomb escape, I should say. Wendy is doubling Karen Allen in this particular sequence. And more importantly, Martin Grace now has to get out of the tomb by riding this. Now, the leg of this is hydraulic, and it fires up into the air, moving the statue, but it goes early. And now he's not in the right place, and he's got to make his way down under the arm and hold on tight and ride it all the way down. That's spontaneous thinking. He's got to think on his feet, and he has to do that quickly. Now, luckily, Martin was able to do that. And Harrison saying to him, look, rather you than me, I'm glad I didn't have to do it. But that's the idea. It was supposed to be cued at a particular point. It wasn't cued. It went early. Thinking on your feet. Here's the flying wing. And again, choreography. Pat Roach once again playing the big mechanic, and again Glenn Randall. Glenn Randall there is the guy who he has a fight with first before Pat comes out, his second appearance in the movie. A big favourite with the Jones fans. And now the truck chase. The big moment. And this is the kind of gag that they were trying to recreate. This is the transfer from the horse to the truck. Beautifully done here by Terry. Didn't work out that first way round, though, I must admit. But they wanted to emulate that sort of concept art. Harrison does as much horse riding as he can. He can rides very well. But obviously, ultimately, for the final chase sequence, they used a number of doubles in this early sequence. So this moment here, that's Harrison on the horse. But that first chase moment from the tent running here is Glenn Randall. Glenn Randall rides the horse in this particular moment. Then the next shot that you see coming along, when Indy gets to the top of the cliff, is Rocky Taylor. Just for a brief moment. But then the remainder of this is all Terry Leonard. Terry rides towards camera, stops in camera, there's the truck going underneath, and then he goes on after it. Critical that he gets this right, because this is something he's been working on for many years. Everything's storyboarded, of course, here by Kit West, and Mickey Moore has created his own working here of who he needs in this sequence. Reg Harding is one of the passengers here, the stunt guy. Roy Street at the back, who's the gunner, and then the actor Anthony Hibbins there at the front, and there's the three of them. In the particular sequence. More complex, of course, is in the main body of the truck, because in the truck he wanted Paul Weston, Chuck Waters, Glenn Randall, Billy Horrigan, and Peter Diamond, and Sergio Mione at the back. Romo Guerrera the passenger, and Terry driving. Right? Now that's slightly different to the photograph and the image that we see. Right to left, Chuck Waters, Peter Diamond. I don't know who that is at the back. It's not Billy Horrigan. And then top left, you've got Glenn Randall. I don't know who that is next to him. And Paul Weston. You've got Paul Weston, and then you've got Sergio at the back. And here in the staff car, Rocky Taylor driving, and then the actors. But they've got doubles for the long shots. Vic, Glenn Randall, and Peter Diamond. And here is the staff car that we can see. So every eventuality taken into consideration. But importantly is this transfer. It's essential. And as I say, there is a particular photograph which I'm going to show you, which kind of sold it to the world, and that didn't go according to plan. And what had happened was that Terry rides up, and he's just about to make the transfer, and Glenn, who's driving the truck, here's the one in the film, lovely, done. Now this is the image that was sold to the public, and you can see the distance now between the horse and he's much further out. Glenn changes gear from second to third, and it backfires slightly, and the horse is spooked. Terry's now, as he refers to, hung out to dry. He's got nowhere to go. He's overbalanced, and he falls and nearly gets run over by the truck. So they do it again. And look at the distance now. He's right next to it. He's right close next to it. That's what you needed to do. That was the hardest thing, was to get that horse back to the truck using an L step, so he doesn't get hung up, gets his foot in the stirrup, and can push and go clear without getting his foot caught. You take as many precautions as you possibly can. Here's Terry wearing back protectors. He's got hips, shins, knees. He's going to do the best. He knows he's going to get injured. That's part and parcel of the job. He's going to pick up bumps and scrapes, but he wants to be able to make everything as fluid as he possibly can. Opens the door. There's Terry driving. So Terry's just transferred from the horse, throws Romo out, and now has a fight with Terry in the truck. Peculiar, but there we go. The Ark moves about, hits the brakes, hits the accelerator, and Glenn Randall then goes out and lands on the bonnet, with the scream, of course. There's a number of guys up there, including Peter Brace. Look, the roof of the truck is damaged. That'll be fixed again later, as we spot. And goodbye, Terry. And there he goes. So, first point, he's in. He's made the transfer and he's in the truck. Now, he's going to start getting a bit frisky here. Here is Bill Weston arriving on a motorcycle. Boom! And high-sides him right into the water. Lovely. It's a really nice gag. A blink and you'll miss it moment, but Bill Weston is responsible for that. Now, the guys leaving the truck and arriving. There's, again, difference of personnel, but they're ledged on the side. There's a camera position at the front, so they're going to be able to catch them for that mirror shot. Here, Peter Diamond and Vic Armstrong on one side of the truck. They get hit by the trees and down they go. On the other side, Paul Weston goes through the tree, and just beyond him is Chuck Waters. Right? Paul says he was on the side of the truck with Chuck Waters. Right. Taking that into consideration, and again using the footage that they've got, it seems odd then that as soon as that door opens, Chuck Waters is the one that's firing the gun at Indy. However, that's what they did. So that's Chuck again on the side, getting kicked off there. He's hanging onto that door frame, blood spattered about all over the place. And you're dragging underneath. It goes over a ledge here. He goes over the ledge, and the door comes away, and he is done. That leaves one man left, and that man is Sergio Mione, Italian stuntman. There, look, roof is fixed. He can now grab onto that and swing into the cab of the truck. Bang, in he goes. And the fight ensues. Now, again, Sergio, you may have remembered from the year before, because he was doubling Robin Williams on Popeye, which was being filmed. Now, throws him out. And of course, we know that Glenn is driving. And now here's a moment. If you just look to the right-hand side, there is Glenn, easily spotted. Glenn has considerably more hair than Sergio. And again, this is leading up to the major gag in the movie. Working on the front here, down he goes. And now the truck is, of course, speeding towards the staff car, and the idea is to crush him. Working on that, Mickey working out his shots of what he wants, what he needs for this final sequence. And off they go, and he takes off at a rate of knots. Now, Indy has to think on top of his head, how am I going to get out of this? I know, I'll go under. Terry has to make absolutely sure there's enough clearance allowing him to do that, because this is a tricky job at the best of times. He's already had issues with it before in the past. So he takes every single inch of that truck, and he goes over it again and again and again. Is there enough clearance for me to get under? And the answer is no. So they get a team to dig a trench. Not deep, but deep enough for him to have enough clearance underneath the truck so he can work his way along the length of it. Look, it's not terribly deep. It's not terribly straight either, but it's not terribly deep. But, it gives him a sporting chance of being able to get this job done. Work his way from the front, work his way to the back, come out the back and climb back through. Glenn is driving, and that was the deal. Terry said, yeah, I'll do it, but I need Glenn driving. Get the stunt coordinator doing it, that's the responsibility. So between them, and again, storyboarded, and Mickey Moore knows what he wants. A superb second unit director. And knows that this is, the pinnacle of this action. And if they can get this done, this will be a big selling point for the movie, which of course it was. Huge moment. Check the date. 8th of September 1980. That's when they filmed this particular sequence. Mickey is now giving instructions to Terry and to Glenn driving. Terry, work your way along a bit further. Glenn, slow down. No, a bit faster. Come along a bit quicker. Come this side slightly. There we go. And allow him to make his move underneath that truck. This is, history in the making. Then he gets fired out the other side. And he's saying to him, okay, move around now. Work your way up the rope. Come and climb up the rope. Come towards me. Keep coming. Keep coming. This is good. And, that's his job. And I think it's a remarkable gag. I really do. And it's terrifically well done. It's been revamped for the 1980s. Of course, this is a gag that Terry did try and do many years before on Legend of the Lone Ranger, and of course it's the classic gag that Yakima Canutt did back on Stagecoach, which we've talked about before. But he is able to do it. Now, more importantly, Harrison Ford's got to sell it, because Terry's done all this great work. He's getting some padding over there on his stomach, because he's going to be lying on his stomach. He is going to be dragged behind that truck for real, so that he, can do those pickup shots of him looking heroic. And he probably wouldn't have done it if Terry hadn't have said to him, you can do this, I've done the hard work. All you've got to do is sell it. They're anyway going pretty slower. they'll go quite slowly, but it has to be sold to the audience. There's no cranking in the camera here either. I mean, they've just done a lot of smart editing in order to speed up the sequence. But there certainly isn't anything there that would suggest there's a problem. And he's being towed behind the camera vehicle. So he's going to be, again, Mickey there, will be giving him instructions and saying, right, okay, come on, work your way around, move around a bit further. They're not going terribly quickly, but he will say, all right, give us a little bit more speed. How good does it look? Is it looking distorted? Can we still see Harrison's face? More importantly, he's doing a similar sort of movement to the movement that Terry was doing earlier. And those sequences put together, and they managed to put everything there and sell that sequence, and it's very impressive. And I know that Terry's particularly proud of it, And the two of them get on very well. They worked again together later on. So Rocky driving the staff car with his blonde hair. There was a car jump done here, which I wasn't aware of for that initial moment before then Industrial Light and Magic take over for the rest. And of course, we were talking about Lone Ranger. This is the drag if you haven't seen it. Legend of the Lone Ranger, and he's pulling himself along. He gets all it's a lot. Go and watch my video about this, and you'll see. But he comes out, and the wheels go up and over his legs, and he thought he'd lost his legs. That's how serious it was. But in order to sell this gag, he wants to make it work, and it looks great. It really looks superb on screen. And Harrison has done a great job in selling that gag and convincing the audience. Now, Indy's back on. He goes around, and now they have replaced the cab on the back of a truck. So it's easy to film. It's easy to maneuver. You don't have to worry about the vehicle itself. He will then go in through the window. Bosh, have that. Thank you very much. And they take over, and they've got much more control because there's not a lot of steering going on if you've noticed this. Now, you're going out the window, son. Way out he goes. And again, Sergio with Glenn, and he's saying, look, this is the best way for you to go out. They've put pads at the front, so when he does go over, it's not an issue. And for that final sequence, they make it so that when he does give way, he actually is just this side and manages to sell the gag. They get the rear wheels to go over a little bump in the road. It's very impressive. It's a remarkable, remarkable movie, and it still stands alone now. It's one of those movies that you can watch time and time again, and you get the hairs up the back of your neck. It's fantastic. So there we go. That is Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981. There's a lot going on there, and again, it's a relatively small stunt team, and yet the action that is created on that is just fantastic. I mean, it's such a standout picture, and of course, the story went originally that Spielberg wanted to direct a Bond. George Lucas saying, what do you want to do? He said, I want to direct a Bond movie. And he said, I've got something better than Bond. Man's a fool. But he said, I've got something better than Bond. And he gave him Indiana Jones. And so you can see there's a whole bunch of similarities going on. And that action genre, the action-adventure genre, is safe for those three pictures. We're going to look at Temple of Doom and Last Crusade, but not immediately, because it's a lot of work for a start off, and I've got lots of other stuff that I'm doing as well. I'm trying to do it all in a relatively short space of time, so you'll just have to be patient and hang on. But thank you for all of those people who've been sending me messages to say how you are enjoying the shows, and that you're passing it on to your friends and people in the industry who get in touch with me and say, look, that was great, I enjoyed what you did there, thank you very much. So that's great to hear. So thank you very much indeed for supporting me and for coming back week on week. There is more great stuff to come. Next week, what are we doing next? Oh, next week, right, yes. Next week is another exciting one for me, really, because there are a lot of movies that, they were very specific to the 1980s, and they're very important to me, and they're very important to a lot of people. And the whole superhero genre you know, for me, kind of got really great in the 70s and the 80s when Christopher Reeve was Superman and when Michael Keaton was Batman. So on the strength of that, I'm going to have a look next week at Superman 2. Superman 2 next week. We're going to have a look at some of the action on that. Again, done for real. You know, that whole doing it for real thing. Done for real. And they were bookended, of course, weren't they? They were, I think, the Superman and Superman 2 back-to-backs, or there or thereabouts. So we'll have a look at that, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to explore the rest of my archive, it is free to do so. Go back, have a quick rummage, find something that you particularly like, and leave a comment. Let's get in touch and chat about something, or you want to suggest something, which is also great as well. Think, hey, I've saw this movie and I'd like to know more about it. Then get in touch, and we'll try and do something about that as well. Don't forget the podcast on every Wednesday. It's different. It's not copy and pasted into this week or vice versa. So there is something slightly different going on Wednesday for the podcast. Don't forget to check out the Pod Dojo Network, which I am very lucky to be part of. Their link is in the notes below. Explore, and if you want to be in touch with me on all the other social medias, there's a link down there to do that as well. So thank you once again, and until next time, bye for now.